Heartwarming encounter. Billionaire discovers incredible truth from grieving girl at son's grave. Thomas Langston, the billionaire with a heart heavy with sorrow, stepped onto the cobblestone streets of Hopewell, his soul burdened by more than just wealth. Wrapped in the aroma of fresh pies and laughter from the local diners, he was an incredible contrast to the quaint town filled with sincere smiles and tight-knit community bonds. Tonight, he'd be attending a fundraising gala for local veterans, an event that tugged at his heartstrings, reminding him of his father who had given everything in the line of duty. The gala was bright, with elegance twinkling from chandeliers, yet the clinking of glasses echoed his own internal silence. Smiles felt stiff, mingling with heartfelt memories, but as the night wore on, a deeper emotion surged within him. He excused himself from the crowds, driven by an urge long overdue. Beneath an ink-black sky, the remote cemetery whispered of forgotten stories. Standing at his son's grave, a place he hadn't visited in far too long, grief enveloped him like a cold fog. He sank to his knees, tears streaming down his face, his soul aching for connection to the boy he lost. Then, through his blurred vision, he saw her, a small figure kneeling a few graves away. Lucy, a 12-year-old girl with sun-kissed hair and the brightest eyes, was clutching a bouquet of wildflowers, whispering sweet nothings to her mother's grave. Their shared grief painted an invisible thread between them, drawing Thomas closer. "Hi," he said softly, his heart racing. Lucy looked up, her innocence sparkling despite her sorrow. They stood together for a moment, embraced by the weight of loss. As Thomas listened to her dreams of a better life, a life filled with laughter and joy, he remembered the dreams he had for his own son. "Sometimes, I feel lonely," Lucy confessed, her voice barely a whisper. In a single heartbeat, Thomas felt a jolt of understanding. She spoke of her mother's struggles, of long days and battles fought in silence, while he fumbled under the weight of his wealth. Before they could bridging the gap of their worlds, a thought pierced his mind. How might he help? "I can," he stammered, the words choking him. "I can make sure you have what you need." But Lucy shook her head, eyes filled with a fierce pride. "No, we'll be okay. We just want to find our own way," she firmly replied. In her resolve, he felt both respect and the sting of rejection. Misunderstanding their intentions, Thomas offered help repeatedly, mistaking her dignity for desperation. Each encounter pulled him deeper, frustration taking the place of compassion. Before long, he prepared a grand gesture, something meant to bring them together only to receive yet another refusal. "We don't need charity," Lucy insisted, her voice quaking under the weight of pride and pain, reminding him that wealth could not fix what was broken. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Just as Thomas prepared to bridge the divide with his planned gesture, a revelation hit him like lightning. Standing in shock, he realized Lucy was more than just a grieving girl, she was his late son's child. In that moment, the distance transformed into an unexpected connection of family, grief, and rediscovery. Hearts intertwined by fate, could Thomas finally find his purpose and healing through Lucy's strength? Or would this startling revelation add more weight to their shared losses, deepening an already aching wound? The air was thick with possibilities, their futures entwined like roots of a mighty tree, waiting to be tended. Thomas's heart raced as he stood, rooted to the spot. His mind swirled in disbelief. He had been so wrapped up in his own grief that he hadn't considered the possibility of Lucy being connected to him in such a profound way. The realization was a double-edged sword. It released a flood of warmth, yet it also surged with anguish over the life they could have shared. "Lucy," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "you're my granddaughter." The words felt foreign, like they belonged to someone else. Yet, they hung in the air, heavy with truth. Lucy's eyes widened as she absorbed his declaration. "What do you mean?" she stammered, confusion knitting her brows. She clutched her bouquet tighter. I was your father's dad. I lost him years ago, but now You're here, he explained, his heart breaking all over again. Part of him longed to take her into his arms, to envelop her in the love he had held back for so long. Yet, he sensed her need for space, for understanding. Her tiny hands opened the wildflowers, letting petals fall like silent tears. No, that can't be true. My mom never said anything about a grandfather, she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. She wouldn't have. I don't understand. I didn't know about you, he replied, his throat tightening. When I lost your dad, I lost a part of myself, too. I wish I had known. But I want to get to know you now. I want to help you not as charity, but as family. Lucy's expression softened, but the pride that had fueled her every response lingered. Why didn't you come looking for us? She asked, the words carrying the weight of all her unanswered questions. We've been alone. Thomas felt shame wash over him. He had built walls around his heart, isolating himself with comfort and luxury while she wrestled in a world of struggle. I wish I could say there's an excuse. There isn't. But I want to change that. They stood in silence, the cool night air swirling around them. The moon shone, casting a silver veil over the graveyard, illuminating their shared grief and unexpected connection. Thomas reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. It felt intimate, a fatherly gesture he longed to offer yet had shied away from. Let me take you for ice cream. Or to the park. Just give me a chance to show you that you're not alone anymore, he said, vulnerability layered in his voice. Lucy hesitated, weighing his offer against the memories of loss. The soft look on her face hinted at her desire to connect, buried beneath years of independence. Okay, but only if you promise not to treat me special just because you're a billionaire or whatever. It was a fragile truce, but a beginning. Deal, he said, relief washing over him. As they stood side by side, sharing the stillness of that sacred ground, Thomas felt the roots of healing intertwining between them. Both wounded, yet drawn to healing together. I'll need time, Lucy murmured, her voice breaking the silence once more. It'll take time to trust. Time is what I have, Thomas replied, a confident smile breaking through his sorrow. And I'll wait as long as it takes. Little did they know, the path ahead wouldn't just be about their healing but also about drawing Thomas back into the community, allowing him to learn their struggles and joys through Lucy's eyes. As they turned away from the graves, the first glimmers of hope emerged. Would they be able to transcend the shadows of their pasts? Or would the weight of their previous lives pull them back? In the distance, the gala lights twinkled, calling to them from both the past and the possibilities that lay ahead. What awaited them next could either bind them closer together or shatter their fragile connection once and for all. The night wore on, drawing the stars closer to the earth like whispers of comfort. As they stepped away from the gravesite, the echo of their words lingered in the air, pressing both Thomas and Lucy to confront the uncharted territory ahead. Do you like ice cream? Thomas asked, trying to lighten the mood. The question felt sudden but necessary, a bridge into a world of small delights neither of them would take for granted. Lucy hesitated, her brow furrowing in thought. I guess, but only if I choose the flavor. She looked up at him from under her lashes, her defiance still there but softened by curiosity. Absolutely, I'm in no position to dictate the rules, he chuckled, surprise seeping into his words. The tension began to dissolve, buoyed by shared laughter. He felt buoyed, a cautious excitement inching into his chest. They made their way to the car, an unfamiliar silence settling between them, yet comfortable. Thomas sensed Lucy's guarded nature, the walls she'd built in response to her mother's silence and the challenges of her upbringing. Each step crunched softly beneath their feet, the moonlight highlighting the contrast between his well-worn shoes and her scuffed sneakers. As they drove, Thomas's mind was a storm of thoughts. How did he get here? A life once filled with lavish parties and glittering awards now curled tightly around a truth he never anticipated. His gaze drifted to Lucy, who peered out the window. Would she accept him as family? Did he even deserve it? At the ice cream parlor, vibrant colors and the sweet scent of waffle cones assailed them. Children ran about, laughter skipping above the chatter of parents. This was a world Thomas had almost forgotten, a world where joy could be simple and fleeting. What do you want? He asked, pulling out his wallet. Can I have mint chocolate chip? She replied, her voice tinged with enthusiasm. Of course you can, he smiled, realizing how easy it was to let the joy of the moment wash over him. As the server handed over her scoop, Lucy's eyes sparkled like stars. Thomas marveled at the sight, wishing he could bottle the look of pure delight lighting up her face. No special treatment, remember? She reminded him with a coy smile, digging into the cold treat right away. Right, he nodded with faux seriousness, and they both laughed. The warmth between them began to spread like ripples in a pond, softening the edges of their initial confrontation. They settled onto a bench outside, the night air filled with the sounds of distant laughter. Tell me about your dad, Lucy said suddenly, the question striking a chord deep within Thomas. Thomas looked away, struggling to find the words to breathe life into memories. He was complicated. A good man, but he had his demons. I wish I could share more happy stories, but the sorrow sometimes steals the spotlight. Do you think he would have wanted me to meet you? She asked, her expression earnest. His heart squeezed. I think he would have wanted you to know that love is a bridge, even when it feels broken, he said carefully, measuring his words. Lucy nodded, a contemplative frown crossing her features. Maybe I just want to know where I fit in all this. Together, we'll figure that out, he promised softly, longing to pull her into a warm embrace, the touch of acceptance he was still learning to give. The night wore on and the sounds of the city wrapped around them, but for the first time, it felt less hollow. They shared small stories, laughter flickering like the stars above. But as Lucy's gaze fell, the weight of unspoken truths lingered between them. What if it's not enough? She whispered, looking vulnerable, peeling back layers of her bravado. Then we'll make it enough, he responded, his voice unshaken, despite the quiver in his heart. Promise? Lucy asked, her eyes wide, searching for certainty in his. Promise, he replied with resolve, but as they exchanged innocent yet heavy desires for connection, shadows of the past loomed. Just how much of that past were they ready to face, and could they withstand the storm that was sure to come? The air felt electric, pulsing with the weight of unspoken fears and hopes. Thomas watched Lucy, her brow slightly wrinkled in thought. He could almost see the gears turning in her mind. She was wrestling with something big, something that all of a sudden felt larger than ice cream and late-night laughter. Lucy, he started, his voice steady but low, what are you really afraid of? She shifted in her seat, absently tracing the rim of her ice cream cup. What if I'm just, not enough? Her words tumbled out, laced with a vulnerability that pulled at Thomas's heart. You're already enough, he said firmly, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. You're a brave girl facing so many things more than most people do in a lifetime. You're here, aren't you? That says a lot. Her eyes flickered up to meet his, a mix of surprise and something delicate hope. But it's hard, you know. Everyone expects me to just be, fine. Like my mom, she doesn't talk. Doesn't care. That's not true, Thomas replied softly, though he knew the reality was more complicated. Your mom's just hurting. It doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Lucy let out a shaky breath, her defenses momentarily lowering. I don't want to be just like her. I want to feel things, all the things. Thomas nodded, feeling a wave of empathy crash over him. Then feel them. Embrace them. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to be angry. He paused, gathering his thoughts. You know, some days I still wake up feeling lost. Just because I seem put together doesn't mean I don't have my own battles. The words hung between them, laden with an honesty that made the world around them feel quieter. Lucy looked down at her half-finished cone, a frown playing on her lips. Thomas felt the ghost of elation from earlier start to flicker out under the weight of their reality. "I wish," she started, hesitating. "I wish I could tell my mom how I feel. It's hard to talk about emotions. They hurt." "They do," he said, his voice softer now. "But keeping them bottled up only makes it worse, doesn't it? You've gotta let them out. Find someone safe to share with. Like you." She smiled, a small spark igniting in her eyes. "Yeah, like me," he replied, his heart swelling a little. It was funny how a moment of connection could make everything appear different. He gestured toward the busy street, the life around them contrasting with the seriousness of their conversation. "You may be surrounded by laughter, ice cream, and life, but that doesn't mean you're alone with pain. It's part of being connected. Do you really think we can figure it all out?" She leaned closer, her expression earnest. "Absolutely," Thomas said, warmth filling his chest. "We just have to take it one day at a time. And if things get tough, we'll lean on each other." She nodded slowly, a glimmer of acceptance creeping into her bright eyes. "Okay. But what if I get scared again?" Thomas reached out, brushing his fingers against hers, their hands resting together like two pieces finally fitting. "Then we face that fear together. You and me." As they sat in comfortable silence, the distant sounds of laughter faded, replaced by an internal warmth growing between them. But just as the moment felt perfect, the flicker of doubt returned, casting a shadow over their newfound bond. "What happens when the ice cream melts?" Lucy asked, her voice soft but laced with a seriousness that sent a chill through him. "Will everything just go back to how it was?" A lump formed in Thomas's throat. He wanted to promise her that wouldn't happen, but deep down, he was haunted by the fear that their tentative connection might not withstand the storm still looming on the horizon. Just then, the air shifted and uncomfortable silence settled in, a reminder that they had both so much more to face ahead. Gathering his scent of courage, Thomas tightened his grip on her hand and felt his heart race. He needed to give her hope, needed to illuminate the dark corners of their journey yet to come. "Let's just worry about the next scoop for now," he said, his voice quieter, yet resolved. They both needed to remind themselves, day by day, that they were stronger together than apart, but as they savored the moments that followed, an unexpected figure approached from the shadows, a face from Thomas's past, the very face he hoped to leave behind. And just like that, the fragile peace they had found began to teeter on the edge of uncertainty. Thomas's heart thudded in his chest as he turned toward the approaching figure. Shadows danced across the familiar face, and a wave of conflicting emotions rushed over him like a tidal wave. It was Brad, his old friend turned rival, the very person he tried so hard to forget. "Thomas." Brad's voice cut through the air, sharp and unwelcome. There was a note of disbelief in his tone, like he couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. "Is that you?" Lucy squeezed Thomas's hand, sensing his immediate tension. She looked up, a mixture of confusion and concern washing over her features. "Who is he?" she whispered, eyes darting between them. Taking a breath, Thomas stood tall. He didn't want to let this moment mar their connection. "Just someone from the past," he said, mustering a nonchalant tone that didn't quite match the turmoil inside. Brad stepped closer, his presence looming larger than life. "You disappeared, man. I thought you were done with all this." His eyes flicked toward Lucy, then back at Thomas, narrowing with suspicion. "And who is this? You finally moved on. Didn't he think you had it in you?" "Life moves on, Brad. Doesn't it?" Thomas shot back, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. There was an edge to his voice, one that hinted he wanted to protect Lucy from whatever fallout might come next. Brad chuckled, though there was no humor in it. "You're still acting like you don't care, huh? But you do. You came back, for her." He pointed at Lucy, the accusation clear. Lucy, feeling the heat of the moment, looked between them, uncertainty written all over her face. I don't know what's going on," she said softly, pulling her hand away from Thomas's grasp. "Lucy, wait," he began, but before he could reach for her, she took a step back, her eyes wide with unease. "It's all right," she said, steadying her breath. "I don't want to be a part of any drama." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I came here to talk, to be honest. Not to get involved in something complicated." Thomas felt the gut-wrenching twist of helplessness as he watched her retreat. He wanted to reassure her, to clear the air, but the gravity of Brad's presence was suffocating. "Exactly," Brad seized the moment, his smirk returning. "You see, Thomas? You're choosing to bottle everything up just like your mom. You don't want to feel, do you? Just like her." The words sliced through Thomas. He could feel the raw ache of Lucy's struggle reflected in his own. "Don't drag her into this," he snapped, ready to defend her fiercely. "She's already in it by just being here," Brad pressed, stepping forward. "You've been living in some fairy tale while the rest of us have been trying to get real. Face it, Thomas. You still owe us. You still owe me." In that moment, Lucy took a shaky breath, her earlier strength faltering. "Thomas, is there something I should know? Is this really about me?" Her voice trembled slightly, and his heart cracked at the sight of her uncertainty. "Lucy, it's not about you," he insisted, his tone softer now, afraid she might think she was the cause of this conflict. "It's about my past. Something I thought I could leave behind." Her eyes held uncertainty, tears glistening at the corners as she processed the storm brewing around them. "Then why not just let it go?" she challenged softly, echoing the very words he needed to hear but had yet to fully embrace. Brad laughed again, a harsh sound that broke through their moment. "Because he can't. No one ever really can." Thomas felt the weight pressing down on him, but amidst the tension, a thought sparked in Lucy's expression. A flicker of clarity, a hint of resolve. "Maybe it's time to actually confront it, then," she said, her voice steadier now, conveying a strength darkened by fear but glimmering with hope. "If it's haunting you, Thomas, why run?" Just then, the world around them felt like it paused, a fragile moment hanging in the air, filled with choices yet to be made. Thomas looked back at Lucy. She was right. This could be the moment everything changed, but as he opened his mouth to respond, Brad shifted, an expression on his face that hinted at something deeper. "You really don't know, do you?" he murmured, an unsettling glint in his eye. "What do you mean?" Thomas's heart raced again, sensing the revelation looming close at hand. With that, Brad stepped back, crossing his arms like a gatekeeper to the truth, a smirk creeping back onto his face. "Let's just say everything you've been avoiding isn't just yours to carry anymore." The words dropped in the space between them like an anchor, heavy and suffocating. The air crackled with tension, and uncertainty churned within Thomas. What had he been hiding all this time? The truth felt as nebulous as ever, but now it seemed someone else had come to spill it all, an impending storm waiting to unleash chaos. As Lucy glanced at him, uncertainty still flickering in her eyes, Thomas thought about everything he needed to protect and the dangers he had yet to confront. "What is he talking about?" she asked, voice shaking slightly. Thomas could only stare back, his heart pounding. It was a question he didn't have the answer to yet, but one he needed to face. The next moments could unravel everything or weave them together, and he knew deep down in that fragile peace, the storm was just getting started. Thomas's mind raced, but the weight of Brad's words clung to him like fog. He turned to Lucy, whose expression mirrored his own turmoil, confusion and an underlying hurt that pierced him deeply. "Lucy," he began, his voice faltering. "It's complicated. I thought I could protect you from all this." Brad took a step forward, relishing the burgeoning tension. "You didn't even know what you were protecting her from, did you? You've been running away like a child. The truth doesn't just vanish because you ignore it." The chill in Brad's voice sent shivers down Thomas's spine. Brad knew things that could unravel him, and now, by extension, Lucy as well. "This isn't just about me," Thomas said, his voice marked with urgency. "You're making it bigger than it needs to be." "Big?" Brad scoffed, letting the word hang in the air like a taunt. "This is the actual weight of your past. And it's time someone cut the cord." Lucy's brows furrowed as she pieced it together, glancing back and forth between the two men. "What are you two talking about? You say it's not about me, but I feel like I'm in the middle." Panic surged within Thomas, driving him to take her hand once again. "Lucy, please, I don't want this to involve you." But the fire of confrontation began to spark in her eyes, a determination that was both captivating and alarming. "No, Thomas. If something is there, it's my right to know about it." The moment felt electric, crackling with unsaid words and revealed truths. He could see the resolve in her stance, the way her defiance rose against the looming shadow of Brad. "You want to know?" Brad said, leaning forward, a devilish grin stretching across his face. "Then let us start with where it all went wrong. How about the day Thomas became a ghost?" "Stop it!" Thomas shouted, his voice echoing against the silence of the darkening street. The intensity of the night matched the fire of his emotions. "You don't know what you're doing." "Or maybe I do," Brad countered, his eyes narrowing, the smirk fading into something more serious. "What if I told you that what Thomas left behind isn't just pain? What if it's something that can tear everyone apart? It's time to stop living in a fairy tale, Thomas." The accusation struck Thomas hard. Memories of his childhood, of the family he felt he abandoned, tumbled into view, the unresolved grief, the silenced screams, all coiling together into a gut-wrenching knot of dread. Lucy, witnessing the raw change in his expression, squeezed his hand tighter, grounding him. "What are you afraid of?" she whispered, her voice steady yet soft. "You can tell me." He looked at her, and for the first time, he felt the weight of all his fears crashing against the warmth of her faith in him. It was a paradox, a connection that felt stronger than the shadows of his past. But it also brought with it a visceral fear of losing her if he surrendered to the truth. I don't know if it's something I can share. It's like exposing every part of myself. I've spent years trying to bury it, Lucy. I'm scared I'll break." He trailed off, the vulnerability spilling out like a dam finally breaking. "Broken or not, you need to face it," she said, her voice unwavering. "I'm here, and I promise I won't judge you. Just tell me." Her eyes reflected a trust, deep and enduring, a light pushing back against the darkness threatening to swallow them. Brad's laughter rang out, cold and mocking. "Wow, look at that. The princess wants to save the day. But can you handle the monster lurking under the bed? You think you're the monster?" Thomas shot back, anger flaring. "You're just a shadow, and shadows can't hurt anyone unless someone gives them power." The atmosphere shifted, and for a moment, Thomas could feel the support of Lucy, her strength, her unwavering gaze directing him to release the chains of his past. Then the obscurity of Brad's words broke through again. "You know, Thomas, there are people who are still waiting for you to come back. And not all of them are as forgiving as she is." A new dread washed over him. The fear of what awaited in the shadows not only hunted him but also threatened Lucy. "What do you mean?" Lucy asked, her voice barely above a whisper, sensing the shift. Thomas's heart raced, caught between the fear of what he must confide and the raw need to ensure her safety. He felt the tang of urgency in the air. He had to decide. The choice hovered, dark and daunting, yet beckoning with the promise of clarity on the other side. "Brad holds answers that I've kept buried," he finally admitted, uncertainty tinging his voice. "But those answers might change everything, and I can't risk losing you in the process." As those words hung heavily between them, a deep silence followed, thick and suffocating. Thomas knew a reckoning was coming, and it loomed closer by the second. Just as the gravity of his confession began to weigh down on him, the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance, quickening the pace of his heartbeat. Their unspoken confrontation was far from over, but now, Thomas sensed that the storm brewing outside was just a precursor to the storm within. Would he find a way to confront it all? Or would he let shadows continue to define his life and Lucy's? The next moments would determine everything. Would he be brave enough to open that door? The footsteps grew louder, echoing against the stillness, and a knot of anxiety tightened in Thomas's stomach. He could feel Brad's smirk returning, feeding off the tension in the air. It was like a dark cloud hovering over them, pulsating with a sense of foreboding. "Who is that?" Lucy asked, turning her head towards the sound, her earlier resolve now tinged with uncertainty. Thomas opened his mouth to respond, but the words froze in his throat when he saw the figure emerging from the shadows. It was a woman, her features shrouded by the dim street lamp's glow but unmistakably familiar. It was Sarah, the sister he had left behind all those years ago. "Thomas," she said, her voice breaking through the tension like glass shattering. He hadn't seen her in a decade. The last time had been when everything collapsed. Guilt swept through him, pulling at the edges of his resolve. As if sensing her presence, Brad took a step back, a gleam of victory in his eyes. "Why are you here?" Thomas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. There was 1,000 questions spinning in his mind, but they all congealed into this one desperate inquiry. "I had to find you." Sarah's gaze turned to Lucy, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I didn't know you'd be with someone. I just need to talk." Her words hung in the air, weighted with urgency and the pain of years lost. Lucy squeezed Thomas's hand tighter, her brow furrowed in concern for the two siblings. Her willingness to stand by him through this whirlwind gave him a surge of courage, but the thought of what Sarah might say sent shivers down his spine. "Talk about what?" he implored. "You can't just drop back in after all this time." "I waited too long to reach out," and Sarah hesitated, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought you were dead, Thomas. I needed you, and I thought you'd vanished forever." A sheet of silence stretched between them, the world shrinking to this single moment. Thomas felt his heart pounding fiercely, memories flooding back, memories he buried deep. "I was gone because I had to be. I thought I was protecting you from all of it." "From what?" she challenged. "From Mom and Dad's mess. They're gone now, Thomas. It's just you and me, and we can't keep pretending like everything's okay." Brad chuckled darkly, his presence amplifying the whirlwind. "Family drama, how quaint. You think digging up the past will heal anything?" "Shut up, Brad." Lucy snapped, her voice ringing with defiance. "This isn't your story." Thomas stood there, torn apart by the nuances of love and loss. The stakes felt higher, pulling at his core as he turned to Lucy. "You need to know that I know." She interrupted, her eyes blazing with determination. "But I also know hiding won't change the truth. We face this together." The words tethered Thomas back to the moment, igniting a flicker of something he thought he had lost, hope. But before he could respond, Sarah pressed on, desperation clear. "You don't understand. It's not just about the past. They left things behind, and now there are others searching for you, Thomas. Dangerous people." The revelation hit him like a jolt. Memories of fear and shadows crept back in, intertwining with the urgency of now. "What do you mean others?" The look on Sarah's face was a mixture of sorrow and fear, conveying just how dire the situation truly was. The shadows he thought he had escaped were clawing their way back into his nightmares, now threatening Lucy too. "People who won't stop until they find you," Sarah said, her voice a trembling whisper. "You need to come back. We need to figure this out before it's too late." Time stretched, and the ground beneath him felt unsteady. Thomas glanced between Lucy and Sarah, both pleading with eyes that held lifetimes of unspoken words. Suddenly, the echoes of the past surged back, intertwining with the fragility of his present. Could he bear to confront the demons lurking in the dark while protecting Lucy? As the air thickened with uncertainty and the sound of night deepened around them, the urgency pressed in on him, begging for resolution. Everything hung in the balance, and he sensed the looming storm would demand more than he had ever given. What would he choose? Would he confront the shadows of both his past and present, or would he try to save Lucy from the truth he had run from for so long? The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his answer. The silence was suffocating, each heartbeat amplifying the tension. Thomas felt the weight of the decision pressing against his chest, a tangible force. As he looked into Sarah's eyes, he could see the desperation, the haunting memories swirling just beneath the surface. His own memories clawed at him, filling his head with echoes of laughter turned to tears, the warmth of family turning into cold abandonment. Dangerous people? He finally whispered, grappling with what this meant. What have you gotten into, Sarah? What is going on? A flicker of fear crossed her face, and for a moment, he saw her as the little sister he had left behind, scared and vulnerable. It's not me, Thomas. It's about what Mom and Dad were involved in. Things they were mixed up in that we never knew about. It's come back to haunt us. I can't explain everything now, but we need to go. We need to leave this place. Thomas shook his head, a swirl of memories and present dangers spinning within him. I can't just leave, not with Lucy here. She has nothing to do with this. Lucy's grip tightened as she stepped forward, her determination flickering like a candle in a storm. Whatever this is, Thomas, we face it together. You're not alone in this. I won't let you push me away. The sincerity in her voice steadied him and cut through the confusion. He wanted to protect her, to shield her from whatever dark shadow his past was about to drag into their lives. But her presence was a reminder that vulnerability was a tapestry woven through love and connection, not weakness. Please, Thomas, Sarah urged, her voice breaking slightly. They've already found me once. They know we're family, and if they find you, it's over. They'll come for you. A cold shiver ran down his spine at the thought. He had run for so long, thinking that distance meant safety. But now Jason Jones was back, bringing with him the weight of their family's past. He had closed that door for 10 years, never wanting to look back, yet here it was, rattling on its hinges while he stood frozen. Where do we go? He asked, the battle in his heart raging between the fear of the past and the safety of the present. Anywhere but here, Sarah answered, urgency creeping into her voice. There's a safe house. It's not far, and if we hurry, we can get there before they find us. Safe house. Lucy echoed, glancing nervously between the siblings. She looked at Thomas, and he could see her heart racing, caught in a whirlwind of shock and determination to help. Is it safe? It'll hold for a while. Long enough for us to think things through, Sarah replied, her hands trembling slightly. Please, let us go. Before they know we're here. The gravity of the situation settled in Thomas's stomach like lead. The life he thought he had built was threatened by shadows he had hoped were behind him. But the more he considered the reality of danger, the more he knew he had to protect Lucy from his past, whatever that might entail. Okay. He nodded, his voice steadier than he felt. We go, then. Together. Together, Lucy echoed, squeezing his hand tighter. Just then, the distant sound of engines revving pierced the stillness. All three of them froze, the reality of their situation crashing down as adrenaline surged through Thomas's veins. Time's running out, Sarah warned, urgency snaking back into the AIR.as they turned to run. Thomas felt the weight of their shared fears pulling them into a new direction, one he had not anticipated but could no longer avoid. Stepping into the unknown, he felt the pulse of something awakening, a need to confront those ghosts for the sake of his sister and Lucy. What secrets lay waiting in the shadows ahead? And could he truly protect the life he cherished as the past clawed desperately to reclaim him? They sprinted through the narrow alleyways, the city lights blurring as they dodged between parked cars and darkened storefronts. Thomas could hear the roar of engines growing louder, an ominous reminder that they were being hunted. His heart hammered in his chest, driven by the urgent need to escape the past that threatened to swallow them whole. Keep up. he urged, glancing back at Sarah and Lucy. Lucy's face was set with determination, her eyes reflecting both fear and an unyielding spirit. Sarah looked slightly unsteady, but he could see the fire in her gaze. They were both in this together now, pulled by the same thread of desperation. The streets felt alien and foreign, like a labyrinth set up just to confuse them. Questions swirled in Thomas's mind. What exactly was this familial mess that loomed over them? How could their parents' mistakes reshape their future? He pushed those thoughts aside. Now wasn't the time for reflection. Down here, Sarah shouted, veering into another side street. They ducked under a low-hanging awning, and for a heartbeat, they stood still, gasping for air. Are they coming? Lucy whispered, her voice barely audible, but the tremor in it cut through the night. Not yet, Thomas assured her, though his own cynicism gnawed at him. He had no idea how close behind their pursuers might be. But we need to keep moving. Sarah glanced around, scanning their surroundings like a hawk. The next block leads to an old warehouse. It's not far, and we can lay low for a few minutes. I know a back entrance. Okay, Thomas replied, trying to muster calmness. Lead the way. Pushing through the adrenaline, they took off again, weaving into the shadows. A strange sense of unity formed between the three of them, a bond forged in fear and urgency. He hadn't thought much of Sarah since leaving home, but seeing her now, vulnerable yet fierce, stirred something deep within him. She was one of his own, a part of a story he thought he had left behind. As they reached the warehouse, Sarah led them to a hidden door at the back. With a quick glance over her shoulder, she shoved it open and they slipped inside. The interior was dark, and dust hung in the stale air, but it felt safe temporarily. Let us catch our breath, Sarah suggested, leaning against the wall and sliding to the floor. Lucy and Thomas joined her, all of them panting quietly, the silence wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. What's the story, Sarah? Thomas finally asked, his voice low but firm. What did Mom and Dad get into? They were involved with, she hesitated, swallowing hard, with some people who weren't clean. I thought they had left that life behind. But then I started receiving threats. And when I didn't pay attention, they found me. Then I discovered they were looking for you too, Thomas. Thomas clenched his fists, a wave of anger and fear washing over him. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I thought we were safe. I didn't think it would come back. I thought I could handle it alone, until it almost cost me everything, she said, tears glimmering in her eyes. Lucy placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, her warmth a comforting gesture. We'll figure this out, she said softly. We're in this together now. In that moment, Thomas sensed a shift. Their fear could either shatter them or weave them tighter together. It was a choice. He mentioned the potential safe house, and both girls nodded in agreement. They needed a plan before the shadows grew any darker around them. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from somewhere within the warehouse, followed by footsteps approaching rapidly. Did you hear that? Sarah exclaimed, panic rising in her voice, with eyes wide and hearts racing. They shared a singular thought, they weren't alone. As the door creaked open wider, and a shadow fell across the threshold, Thomas's mind screamed, who was it now, and were they friend or foe? The revelation was about to unfold in ways he could never expect. The door swung open, and there stood Jason Jones, menacingly tall, with a smirk that dripped with arrogance. His dark eyes scanned the warehouse, easy confidence oozing from him. Well, if it isn't the long-lost Langston, he said, his voice smooth but laced with malice. Thomas felt a surge of protectiveness for Lucy and Sarah flood through him. He couldn't let this man, this embodiment of his haunted past, edge into their present. What do you want, Jason? He demanded, stepping forward protectively. Jason chuckled, the sound chilling. Oh, Thomas, you still don't get it. You've been running from this life, thinking you could escape it. But you can't. It's always been a part of you. He scrutinized each face in the dim light, letting the implication of his words sink in. And now, look at you. You bring your little family into the fray. How touching. Don't you dare talk to her, Thomas spat, pointing at Lucy, his rage rising to the surface. She was just behind him, wide-eyed with fright, but it quickly transformed into resolve. Stay away from her. Lucy stepped forward, her spirit igniting a little flicker of defiance in Thomas's heart. It reminded him that this was not just a fight about his past, it was also about protecting their future. Cute, Jason replied, dismissing her with a wave. But it doesn't matter. Your family drew the line long ago, and it's time to pay up, Thomas. Pay what? Thomas asked, his voice low and dangerous. Jason's eyes gleamed with amusement mixed with something darker, like storm clouds gathering for a tempest. You're just a part of their mess, Jason said, his tone almost taunting. You really don't know what you're dealing with, do you? Enough. Sarah shouted, rising to confront the man they had all feared. For years, she crouched beneath the shadows of their parents' mistakes, but in this moment, she reclaimed her voice. You can't hold us hostage with ghosts from the past. We're here to take our lives back. A flicker of surprise crossed Jason's face, but he smirked again, regaining his composure. There's only one way that can happen, sweetheart. Hand over Thomas, and maybe we'll forget the little family reunion. No. Thomas shouted. You won't take me away from them. Whatever you think you own ends here. I refuse to live in the chains of a past I didn't make. Behind him, Lucy pushed her shoulders back, bravery flickering like the last light before darkness. We're not afraid of you. She declared, her voice steady. Jason's expression shifted. Oh yeah? You think this is some sort of game? You don't understand what's at risk here. I'm giving you a chance to escape your family's fate. For too long, I've run from shadows that aren't mine, Thomas said, feeling both fear and adrenaline course through him. But not anymore. It's time to confront this. If you want me, you'll have to deal with my family. Together, we can take you down. The courage that surged around him felt palpable, it was a barrier, a vow to protect not only himself but the girls who made him stronger. Let's make this clear, Jason, he said firmly, the fear shifting into a steely resolve. You think you can intimidate us with ghosts and threats, but you're wrong. Whatever you may have had power over is gone. We're taking back our choices. Jason's eyes narrowed, and discontent crossed his lips. You think this is a fight you can win? Watch us, Sarah replied, stepping up beside Thomas, shoulder to shoulder with Lucy. In that moment, they formed a united front, a trifecta of unyielding defiance against the encroaching shadows. Jason seemed momentarily taken aback, disarmed by their fierce loyalty. But then his cunning smile returned, twisting the air once more. We'll see who walks away from this, he sneered before retreating back into the shadows. With each step he took, the tension seemed to crush the air around him until he burst through the door. Silence enveloped the warehouse, thick yet strangely liberating. We did it! Lucy exclaimed, her voice filled with a heady mix of exhilaration and disbelief. No, we haven't yet, Thomas cautioned, still feeling the weight of uncertainty. This isn't over. He'll be back. But we stood together, Sarah countered, fierceness in her eyes. That means something, Thomas. We're not just a part of a mess anymore. We're a family, and family sticks together. In that moment, Thomas felt the raw ache of solitude begin to fade. For the first time, he could see the light that came through the shadows, the strength built from vulnerability, the hope nestled within trust. As their breaths slowed, he turned to Lucy, her determination inspiring a warmth that melted his worst fears. We face whatever comes next, together, he affirmed. Yes, Lucy echoed, stepping closer to him and Sarah, their hands clasping together in emotional solidarity. And as the warehouse darkened again, the storm outside began to ease, hinting at a promise of dawn, a chance for renewal, healing, and family. Past and future intertwined, they stood ready to face whatever challenge loomed ahead, knowing that their ties would be their greatest shield. This was the moment they began to rewrite the story. And it started right here. So, are you ready to be a part of this journey? Don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories, the next chapter of this heartfelt journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support can change everything. Comment your reactions and feelings about this intense ending. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.